What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler and today we're counting down the top 10 best lifestyle running sneakers for 2021. So this is a list that I've done a lot in the past, and the reason I've done it so much is because it's the exact kind of list that I would be searching for if I was looking for lifestyle running sneakers. And what I mean by lifestyle running sneakers are shoes you can run in the morning and then wear to work and no one's gonna give you a second glance. It's the kind of shoe that's super versatile for both casual runners, performance runners, or people who don't even run and just want a comfortable sneaker. And speaking of comfortable sneakers, I actually just dropped a list video last week on the top 10 most comfortable sneakers of 2021, so if comfort is what's most important to you, I would definitely suggest checking out that video. There will be a link at the top of the screen. Spoiler alert, a lot of the sneakers in this video are also in that video because that video features a lot of running sneakers and this video is really all about running sneakers, so it makes sense that there's some crossover. But for today's video, I really tried to focus on running sneakers that also look great for just casual everyday wear and not so much about comfort, but most of the shoes on this list are also pretty comfortable. In fact, I've almost got all of them laid out in front of me, and if you're worried about comfort, you don't have to worry because I've worn all of these shoes and they're all incredibly comfortable. Not only that, but if you're interested in picking up any of the shoes that are mentioned in today's video and even some shoes that weren't mentioned because of time, I've made sure to link all of those sneakers in the description below. And then the final thing that I wanted to talk about before actually diving into the video was the fact that this list is really in no particular order. Yes, it's a top 10, but the reason I made it a top 10 is because that's clickable. I'm not gonna lie to you guys about that. Everyone's feet are different, which means everyone's preferences for footwear are also different. So for that reason, don't feel bad buying number 10 on the list versus number 1 because honestly, they're different for different people. But without further ado, I know I've been talking your ears off. Let's jump right into the first shoe on the list. At number 10, we've got the New Balance 2002R. So this shoe is essentially a revival of the 2010 running sneaker classic from New Balance. However, even though this sneaker looks just like the original, it's actually got some performance improvements. So this version of the 2002R is actually a special edition collaboration version, which unfortunately has sold out. But I've got to say, it really just shows off how good the silhouette looks and how nicely the paneling is done on this sneaker. Now to be fair, I am a huge New Balance head, so I'm gonna love pretty much anything that they put out, but this one is really a standout for a lot of different reasons, and not only that, it's also a good running sneaker. Now, if you're not actually a fan of the way that the 2002R looks, you could also pick up the 990 V5, which released last year, and I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a new version of this shoe coming out later this year. Both shoes will work out well for you, but I feel like the 2002R is more of a running focused sneaker, and the 990 V5 is more of a lifestyle focused sneaker, but I'll make sure to leave both of them linked in the description below if you guys wanna check either of these shoes out. So the 2002R comes with an absorbed midsole, which feels pretty decent underfoot. The cushioning's not gonna blow you away, but it's definitely good for everyday wear. Not only that, but New Balance says that this shoe features a stability web outsole, which I'm not exactly sure what that means. It might have something to do with the midfoot shank plate, which apparently adds some nice arch support. I've got to admit, it does feel nice underfoot, but realistically, I don't think the outsole does anything too different from any of the other sneakers on the list, and if you prefer a slightly more firm running sneaker, this might be the way to go. But the reason that I love the New Balance 2002R is because I just feel like it's a really beautifully designed sneaker. I think any colorway that you get of this shoe, you're gonna look good in. Especially now with that sort of modern retro running sneaker aesthetic coming back, I think you can rock this shoe pretty much anytime you want, whether it's running or just for lifestyle wear. This shoe is incredibly versatile. Also, the upper is really nicely padded, so if you like nicely cushioned uppers, you're good to go in this shoe. For 130 bucks, which is a pretty mid-range price, especially for some of the shoes on this list, I don't think you can go wrong with the New Balance 2002R. And hey, if you're willing to pay the resale, this Salehi Bembury colorway is fire. At number 9, we've got a sneaker technology, and honestly a sneaker that I never expected to be on the list, and that's the Adidas 4D Forward. So for years, Adidas has been fine-tuning and working on their 4D or 3D printed midsole technology, and honestly, for the last couple years, it hasn't seemed like anything more than a gimmick. But now, about 3 to 4 years into the lifespan of Adidas 4D technology, I feel like they've really hit their stride, no pun intended. I feel like the 4D Forward is one of the best, if not the best, 4D printed Adidas sneaker that they've ever released. So the reason that this 4D sneaker is better than pretty much all of the other 4D sneakers, at least for performance running, is because they changed up the 3D printed pattern. For the last couple years, I found 4D printed shoes kind of stiff, somewhat uncomfortable. It never felt that soft or really felt like it was doing anything underneath your foot other than supporting you. But now the 4D Forward is a shoe that actually literally propels you forward because of the way that the midsole is printed. Now obviously that's the reason for the name of the shoe, the 4D Forward, but the way that this technology actually works out is that when you step down in the shoe, it kind of leans the shoe forward, which actually sort of propels you into your next step. Not only that, but they've also widened the gap between these 3D printed patterns, which means that there's more space to compress, so it does feel a lot more comfortable underfoot. In fact, it was a very comfortable shoe. I was genuinely surprised. In addition to this crazy 3D printed midsole, you've also got this incredible prime knit upper, which really hugs your foot, is extremely breathable, and is very comfortable. It actually feels like a second pair of socks over top of your socks. All of this paired together creates a very capable running sneaker that looks insane. And I mean, this is probably the most futuristic shoe on this list. I mean, you're wearing a 3D printed sneaker. That's insane. I've always been a huge fan of 3D printing when it comes to rapid prototyping. I'm an industrial designer. That's something that I do a lot of, but I was never really a fan of it in production products. But this shoe genuinely might have changed my mind. I think Adidas did something that they couldn't have done with foam, and they knocked it out of the park. I think this shoe is incredible. And I mean, seriously, the aesthetic of this sneaker is wild. If you're not too freaked out by the tryptophobia going on in the midsole, it's a great looking sneaker. And I can guarantee you, if you're looking for a shoe that's gonna draw attention, this is the one to grab, because this shoe is truly futuristic. So unfortunately, the Adidas Futurecraft 40 Forward is currently sold out. It does have a retail price of $200, and I'm sure Adidas is gonna produce a lot more of these so that you'll have a chance to grab them when they re-release. But if you can't wait and you wanna grab this shoe right now, you can pay resale for it, which is not too much over retail, but you are going to pay more than you would pay probably in 6 months when they release more colorways of this shoe. But again, if you were looking for a shoe of the future that will blow your mind, this is the one to get. Next up at number 8, we've got the Hoka Clifton 8, which is actually kind of funny. However, this version that I'm holding is actually the Hoka Clifton 7 because the 8 isn't technically out yet. Like I said in my top 10 most comfortable video though, the Hoka Clifton 7 is very similar to the Hoka Clifton 8, and for the purposes of this video, the shoe will work just fine. So Hoka One One makes a lot of incredible running sneakers that I also think look pretty great. In fact, a lot of their sneakers could be on this list. But the reason that I picked the Hoka Clifton 8, or in this case the Hoka Clifton 7, is because in my opinion this is the perfect mix of everything. Aesthetics, comfort, and running performance. The Hoka Clifton features this very aggressive looking EVA midsole, which is incredibly soft underfoot and also stupid light. Like, this shoe is one of the lightest shoes on the list. And personally, I just love the way that this sneaker looks. I love this sort of like tooth thing going on in the back. I think that's really cool, the way it exposes some of the color. It's just a great looking sneaker. Because of the thickness of the EVA foam and the density of the foam, it's very soft underfoot, and it's a very comfortable shoe you can wear all day. And it also will give you a couple inches if you're a shorter person. But when you pair this EVA midsole with this engineered mesh upper, which is incredibly breathable and again, very light, you get a very comfortable shoe that's very easy to run in. And because it's got such a wide base, it's also a very stable sneaker and a great neutral running sneaker. And for $130, if grabbing a lightweight, very comfortable shoe is your goal, then the Hoka Clifton 7 or 8 is a great way to go. And actually, I think there's a couple pairs of the Hoka Clifton 7 that are on sale right now, so if you guys would like to grab those, I've left a link in the description below. So at number 7, we've got the one shoe that I actually don't have in person, which is kind of a bummer, and that's the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent 2. How do I put it? This shoe is stupid comfortable and makes you feel like you're flying. It's crazy. Out of every shoe that I've got lined up on my floor right now, the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent 2 is probably the shoe that you'll want to be lacing up for race day. This sneaker is incredibly high tech and is kind of Nike's flagship marathon day running sneaker. The Nike ZoomX Vaporfly Next Percent 2 is first of all a crazy long name for a sneaker, but it's also the second edition of the Nike ZoomX Vaporfly Next Percent. This shoe features a couple performance improvements, but the main meat of this sneaker is still the same, and that's the full-length ZoomX midsole. ZoomX is by far Nike's softest cushioning technology, and it's also probably the softest cushion on the market. Not only that, you also get this carbon fiber shank plate that sort of propels you into the next step. It's one of those shoes that it feels like you're landing on a cloud and then getting propelled into the future. It's crazy. The upper of the shoe has also been slightly redesigned and is apparently more breathable and lighter weight than the original shoe. It comes in an engineered mesh and feels like you're not really wearing anything on your foot. It's crazy. It's also a pretty good looking sneaker if you're into sort of race day aesthetics. I think it's a great looking shoe. It's very modern. It's very fast looking. And if you don't mind wearing a shoe that looks like you're wearing a marathon day shoe, then this is a great sneaker to pick up. Now for $250, it's definitely not a cheap shoe. And this is a shoe that I think you really should only pick up if you're a marathon runner or if you're someone who's got a race coming up. But hey, if you're just like me and you just love overkill when it comes to running sneakers or wearing a shoe that's incredibly soft underfoot, this is not a bad way to go. Coming in at number 6 is another New Balance, the New Balance 1080 V11. So this shoe is the newest 1080 for 2021, the V11, and it's an iterative improvement over the previous 1080s. Obviously, based on the way that this shoe looks, it's definitely a performance-driven sneaker, and I think even though it's a very aggressive-looking shoe, it could easily be worn casually. The upper of the shoe comes with this very soft knit material, which I love. It's very breathable, it's very soft on foot, but as you move back on the sneaker, the knit gets a little bit stiffer for that added stability around the midfoot. And then towards the heel of the shoe, you've got this very nice sort of padded, I guess, neoprene feeling material. But in my opinion, the best feature of the New Balance 1080 V11 is the super thick fresh foam midsole. This midsole is incredibly soft underfoot and also very springy, so you definitely get some nice bounce back when you run in this sneaker. I don't think this shoe is as light as the Hoka Clifton 8, but it's definitely close, and it's definitely one of the lightest shoes on today's list. In my opinion, the 1080 V11 is probably the best performance running sneaker that New Balance makes. I haven't tried all of their sneakers, but out of the shoes that I've tried, this one's my favorite. And for $150, the New Balance 1080 V11 is not the cheapest shoe in the world, but it's also not the most expensive. And if you're looking for a max cushion shoe that's not too heavy, Fresh Foam has you covered. Coming in at number 5, we've got one of the top-rated running sneakers on today's list, and that's the Brooks Glycerin 19. When it comes to purely performance running, I can't think of a shoe that's gotten better reviews than the Brooks Glycerin 19. This shoe is like the perfect neutral running sneaker. The Glycerin 19 features a very soft cushion underfoot that's also not too soft, so it never gets mushy, and it also never gets unstable, but it also pairs that with this really nice engineered mesh upper. One of my personal favorite parts about the Brooks Glycerin 19 is this very nicely padded upper that also has a nice internal heel counter that really locks you into place. And there's a reason why the Glycerin 19, or I guess the Glycerin running line in general, is one of the most popular running sneakers out there, because this shoe is a perfect do-everything sneaker. This DNA loft cushion, which is Brooks' proprietary midsole technology, is a great do-everything midsole. I love it. It's really comfortable underfoot. It does exactly what you need it to do. It's springy enough. It's not too soft, but it's also definitely not too hard. And whether you're someone like me who's a very casual runner, or you're someone who takes it a lot more seriously, I think the Brooks Glycerin 19 is probably the best running sneaker on today's list. No, it might not be the most aesthetically pleasing shoe on the list, at least not for me, but as far as sneakers that runners recommend, the Brooks Glycerin 19 is definitely towards the top of the list. And honestly, I should have put this shoe higher up on the list, but the reason I didn't is because there's some other shoes that I just like more for my own personal wear, and that's why they got higher on the list. But if you're looking for a good running shoe, you really can't go wrong with the $150 Brooks Glycerin 19. Coming in at number 4, we've got the Adidas UltraBoost 21, which is Adidas' latest UltraBoost performance running sneaker. So I actually debated putting both the UltraBoost 21 and the UltraBoost DNA on the list, but because this list is more of a running-focused list, I decided to put Adidas' more running-focused sneaker on the list. And that, of course, is the UltraBoost 21. However, if you're looking for a more lifestyle-focused UltraBoost, I feel like the UltraBoost DNA is just a better-looking sneaker overall. The UltraBoost 21 is definitely a running sneaker that maximizes comfort. This is the kind of shoe that you wear when you're really trying to have a lazier day or you need a lot of cushion. I mean, just look at the Boost midsole on this sneaker. It's thick. This is a thick boy, and it feels great underfoot. If you've tried Boost sneakers before, you have a good idea of how this sneaker is going to feel on your foot. There's just a lot more boost, so it's going to feel a little bit more comfortable. But for me, the thing that really puts this shoe over the top is the prime knit upper. And when you pair this super breathable, super soft, and super stretchy knit upper with this crazy thick Boost midsole, you get a shoe that feels very comfortable on foot. Now, I know there's a lot of runners out there who don't love UltraBoost because they feel like UltraBoosts over time bottom out. And yes, while I have noticed that myself, there's so much boost in the UltraBoost 21, I just don't see how that could happen. Now, when it comes to pricing, the UltraBoost 21 is definitely one of the more expensive shoes on the list. At $180, you're going to be paying a premium for this shoe. However, if you don't mind wearing an older version of the UltraBoost, like maybe the UltraBoost 20 or 19, or maybe you don't mind grabbing a not so great colorway of the UltraBoost DNA, you can find pairs on sale. In fact, I'll make sure to link those pairs in the description below along with the UltraBoost 21. In my opinion, the UltraBoost 21 is the most comfortable UltraBoost yet. And if you love UltraBoost and you love UltraBoost style comfort, the UltraBoost 21 is a definite buy. So next up at number 3, we've got the Asics Novablast, but keep in mind there is actually a Novablast 2 coming out later this year. I just couldn't grab it in time for this video because it hasn't come out at the time of filming this video. So the Asics Novablast is kind of a hit among Asics fans. In fact, this shoe kind of came out of nowhere last year and has become one of Asics' most popular sneakers. And I think there's actually a lot of reasons for that, and the first and probably the biggest reason is this crazy FF Blast midsole. So the flight foam that Asics utilizes in this midsole makes this shoe incredibly comfortable underfoot. underfoot. It's definitely a maximum cushion sneaker, and I think if you like that sort of soft, bouncy feel, you're gonna love this shoe, and this is probably one of the softest and bounciest sneakers on the list. I also really like the aggressive aesthetic that this midsole has. It's very sharp, it's very angular, and you can buy this shoe in different midsole colors that you don't really notice these edges as much. This orange definitely sort of exposes and focuses on this midsole shape, but I like it. I think it's one of those midsoles that really draws people's attention and really makes it look like a very fast running sneaker. In addition to the crazy soft midsole cushion, you also get this great mesh upper, which is pretty soft and also pretty lightweight. There is some padding around the ankle area and heel of the shoe, but it is relatively minimal when compared to some of the other shoes that have padding on this list. Of course, there are some knit sneakers on the list, like the UltraBoost 21s that really don't have any padding on the upper, but this one does have more than those, but less than maybe the Brooks Glycerin 19s. But when wearing this shoe, I don't miss that extra padding on the upper. I feel like they gave you just enough. It's a very comfortable shoe. It's very breathable. And for an upper, it's pretty lightweight. And man, when you feel this flight foam underfoot, it's gonna blow your mind. It's crazy soft, it's crazy bouncy, and I cannot wait to try the Novablast 2. You can grab the Asics Novablast right now for 130 bucks. Some colorways are on sale, and keep in mind the Novablast 2 is coming out in the very near future. I believe it will also be 130 bucks, which is a pretty solid price. And if you're trying to stay below that $150 price range, this is a great option to go with. So coming in at number 2 is one of my favorite sneakers, overall sneakers of 2021, and that's the Nike ZoomX Invincible Run. So the reason I love this sneaker so much is not because of how it looks, because honestly, I kind of think this shoe is pretty ugly, but it's because it's probably the most comfortable shoe I've ever worn. And you'd actually know that if you had watched my top 10 most comfortable sneakers video, which I dropped last week. But if you didn't, here's a spoiler, this was number 1. This shoe is just so incredibly comfortable underfoot. It's nuts. It's like mind-blowing. So as far as performance running is concerned, the Invincible Run is definitely more of a recovery running sneaker. I actually wear this shoe primarily just for lifestyle wear because of how soft it is underfoot. And the reason this shoe is so soft is because they use a full-length ZoomX midsole. This ZoomX is just stupid soft, and unlike the ZoomX Vaporfly Next Percent 2s that we talked about earlier on in the list, this shoe doesn't feature that carbon fiber shank plate underneath your foot, so you actually feel the ZoomX directly underneath your foot, and it's like you're walking on crazy soft pillows, or your foot is surrounded by just amazingness, because the upper is also pretty well padded and it's primarily Flyknit, which means it's going to be very breathable and very soft. But really the main reason why this shoe is so comfortable is because of the ZoomX midsole and because it's so thick underfoot. I mean, honestly, this shoe might ruin every other shoe for you because of how soft it is. Like, I wore the UltraBoost 21 immediately after wearing this shoe for a couple hours. It made the UltraBoost feel like I was walking on wood. It was nuts. I couldn't believe it. And unfortunately, because you're getting such a comfortable sneaker, Nike's going to tax you for it, and the price of this shoe is 180 bucks. So I mean, to be fair, it's not as expensive as the other ZoomX sneaker on the list, the ZoomX Next Percent 2 Vaporfly or whatever the hell that shoe is called. It's not a $250 shoe. It's still somewhat reasonable at 180 bucks, but it's not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. But if you're looking for the most comfortable shoe on this list and just the most comfortable shoe in general, this is the one to grab. I will say though that I think it's pretty ugly, and so far I haven't seen a good colorway of the shoe other than like the black and white colorway, which is just so boring. I went with the sort of recycled looking Exeter edition one, which is fine, but I don't know. It's kind of busted, I'm not gonna lie. Oh man. And then finally rounding off today's list, in the number 1 spot, we've got the Nike Pegasus 38. So the reason this shoe is in the number 1 spot on this list is because, in my opinion, it's the perfect balance of comfort, performance, and also price. This shoe is the cheapest shoe on the list at 120 bucks. The Nike Pegasus line has always been a go-to for runners for the last 38 years, and the Nike Pegasus 38 is just another incremental improvement on an already excellent running sneaker. Now, some of you might have noticed I don't have the regular version of the shoe. I picked up the FlyEase version, and that's to show you guys that Nike actually does have an option for people who are disabled or people who lack the dexterity to actually tie their shoes. On this version of the shoe, you have a zipper that allows you to get in and out of the shoe very, very easily. There's also this very easy tightening system where you unvelcro this, kind of pull it, and that's how you tighten the shoe. It's super easy to wear. It's also a slightly wider version than the standard version, so it makes it even easier to get into the shoe. I love the fact that Nike is focusing on accessibility for all people and not just people who can tie their shoes. I think that's really, really cool. And the fact that Nike's making one of their best running sneakers sneakers more accessible, I think is really great. So one of the reasons I love the Nike Pegasus 38 is the midsole, and that's because a majority of the midsole is made up of Nike React, which is a very soft cushion underfoot. It's not as soft as Nike ZoomX, but it's honestly better for everyday running. While ZoomX is great for race days, this is a much more durable cushion, and it's still soft enough to get you through the run and honestly feel great underfoot, but it's not ever going to bottom out on you or ever feel unstable. Something else I really love about the Pegasus 38 is that there's actually a pretty large Zoom Air unit in the forefoot, which really propels you into the next step or bounces you into the next step, making this shoe a very easy shoe to run in. I love that about it. And then when you pair that with this very breathable engineered mesh upper, which is relatively well padded, especially around the ankle area, you get a very capable running sneaker that's incredibly comfortable on foot, both for running and for lifestyle wear, and at 120 bucks, you really can't beat the price. I just think it's such a great everyday sneaker. You can run in it in the morning, go to the office in the afternoon, or whenever you go to the office nowadays. I think overall the shoe is pretty visually appealing. Yes, it does have some race-inspired hits like this little spike in the back, but it's not too much to where I feel like I couldn't wear this shoe with pretty much anything. It's a good-looking sneaker, it's well priced, and I think Nike knocked it out of the park with the Pegasus 38. I think this is definitely a shoe that's worth picking up. And if you're looking for a great do-everything sneaker and you like Nike, this is a shoe to go with. But with that, we pretty much wrap up the entire video for today. Once again, if you would like to grab any of the sneakers that we talked about in today's video, or even some of the ones that we didn't have a chance to talk about, make sure to click those links in the description below. Not only that, if you guys feel like I left some sneakers out, make sure to let me know which shoes those were in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.